Welcome to Untested Gaming, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Like and subscribe to subvert the algorithm, comment below to suggest your favorite fictional characters, and join the Patreon to vote and polls for upcoming builds. Today, we're wrapping up a bit of an unintentional trilogy with regards to our recent superhero builds. Thor, Aquaman, and Black Panther can all be roughly summarized as ancient, technologically advanced monarchy hidden or forgotten by the general public has the legitimacy of their respective ruler thrown into question by a relative outsider. Relative being the operative term, Killmonger was half Wakandan, Aquaman was half Atlantean, and while Loki was a full Jotun, he still had the size, strength, durability, and appearance and longevity of an Asgardian. That and his true origin was a secret anyway. What makes Black Panther different and much more interesting in my opinion is that Wakandan is just a nationality. They're basically normal humans, but with better technology and a ridiculous standard of living and a martial focus that will put Sparta to shame. Also, the superhero in question isn't coincidentally the monarch. The role of the Black Panther is a mantle that is passed down as a lineage responsible for protecting Wakanda from the outside world. Historically, that meant killing anyone who stepped past the border. In modern times, that includes acting as the nation's figurehead to sell the illusion that Wakanda is just another third world African nation. It would basically be as if the title of Captain America, Super Serum, the Shield, and full backing of the government was periodically reselected for by testing all of the able-bodied volunteers available. That's not just a random comparison. The Black Panther of the World War II era literally told Steve Rogers he had hoped that one day Captain America could be for the US what the Black Panther is for Wakanda. But why does Wakanda need such protection? Well, other than the fact that they're highly prosperous and seem to hate refugees even more than the US, they have exclusive access to vibranium, basically a sky metal if you're up on your Galarian lore. It has unique properties that make it stronger, lighter, and more flexible than pretty much any other metal available to humanity in the Marvel Universe. Adamantium is more durable, but also much heavier and more difficult to work with. Vibranium, as its name implies, is also able to manipulate vibrations, storing kinetic and sonic energy within itself, making it even stronger until that energy is released either gradually or explosively. The Black Panther keeps the vast stockpiles of vibranium from falling into the hands of the most violent of humanity by keeping its existence a deadly secret. In most Marvel media, including the MCU, T'Challa is the current Black Panther. Like his predecessors, T'Challa is a worshipper of Bast, the Panther goddess. He's highly trained in traditional and advanced weaponry, an expert in martial arts from around the world and those unique to Wakanda. He has an education in kingdom management, which for Wakanda also necessitates a worldwide intelligence network, and privileged access to the unique herb that is able to permanently give a person enhanced senses, strength, agility, and an above-average healing factor. Unlike his predecessors, he was educated abroad and isn't strictly an isolationist, meaning he isn't against working with other nations or grouping up with other heroes if the need arises. He also has the latest vibranium weapons at his disposal, including a nanotech panther suit that gives him unrivaled protection, stealth, and a variety of offensive options. I could go on forever, seeing as how Black Panther is one of the most compelling heroes of Marvel's Silver Age in my opinion, but the script is a full page already and we haven't even gone over the goals for the build yet. We'll start with the thing that made Wakanda so great to begin with. Guns and gears and the Numeria guide are still pretty far out, so we won't be able to get a Sky Metal Panther suit anytime soon, but that doesn't mean we won't be able to pack on some AC and resistances to pretend we're about a century ahead on the tech tree. Second, I'm pretty sure this is our first character on the channel that worships an actual divine and receives blessings from them, so that's definitely got to make it into the build somewhere. Lastly, like a lot of characters with a long publication history, T'Challa has done and proven capable in basically everything you can imagine. Yeah, strength and agility, obviously, but he's also a dignitary, inventor, espionage agent, and physicist. We've got another secret anime character on our hands, don't we? T'Challa joins the longer prestigious line of humans we featured on the channel. Skilled humans gain 2 boosts while taking wisdom and dexterity. They also choose a skill to become trained in and automatically become an expert in that skill at level 5. We'll take the athletics to go with that strength mod. Most Wakandans might be strong, wise athletes, but you have to be a cut above the average to be the Black Panther. The royalty background gives us more boosts that we'll take in intelligence and dexterity. It's basically a stripped upgrade to the noble background. We get training in society and the courtly graces feed to make an impression on fellow nobles using our society modifier. But in place of a lore skill, if we ever get the connections feat, we automatically gain connections with commoners and nobles within our family's territory and noble connections with major communities aware of our kingdom. Our ancestry feat, Tribal Bond, gives us even more skill training based on the skill our people have in common. Wakandans live in harmony with the land unlike the majority of the rest of the world, so we'll grab nature training. We also get assurance in that skill, meaning we can choose to forego the roll on a nature skill check in favor of a +10 proficiency bonus on the check. If the goals weren't a big enough of a hint, we're building a champion a day. The Black Panthers are members of an actual cult devoted to a goddess, and they are literally known for their legendary armor. It doesn't get any more champion than that. Bastet is the obvious choice of deity given it's literally the Pathfinder equivalent of Bast. Tekokagi's favorite weapon, deception, divine skill, and nature and protection domains are all online. But being restricted to chaotic good just doesn't fit T'Challa in my opinion. He may be an enigmatic from the outside perspective, but when you're king, your word is law. And claws aren't the only weapons of a Black Panther. We're going to be a paladin of Alceta, whose concerns with transitions, both physical and metaphorical, embodies T'Challa's character arc both in and out of the comics. He has to transition himself abruptly to the throne when his father's life is cut short. He is the first Wakandan king to allow outsiders into their land, and if you're caught up on the comics, T'Challa is basically the steward of the land of death. So that's the metaphysical transition from life to death. Actually, a champion of Pharasma would be pretty cool, but neutral champions don't exist in Pathfinder just yet. Level 1 paladins gain a boost to either strength or dexterity. Training in our deity's skill of diplomacy, deific weapon increases the weapon die for daggers we wield from d4s to d6s, must be the vibranium. Retributive Strike gives an ally resistance to all damage equal to 2+ our level as a reaction whenever an enemy within 15 feet damages an ally also within 15 feet. In addition, if the foe is within our reach, we can also make a melee strike against them. There's a reason the Dora Milaje are always within an arm's reach of you. We get the Lay on Hands focus spell for some heart-shaped healing, healing a living creature 6 points and granting an AC bonus if they're an ally for 1 round. We can also use this on undead creatures to deal 1d6 of positive damage and give them a -2 penalty to AC for 1 round. Deity's Domain gives us the initial focus spell of Alceta's Change Domain. Adapt Self gives us our choice of Dark Vision, swim speed equal to half our speed, the ability to breathe water, or protection from severe environmental heat or cold. For the rest of our skill training, we'll take Acrobatics, Deception, Medicine, and Stealth, and for our ability boost, we'll increase Strength, Dexterity, Intelligence, and Charisma. Divine Grace gives us an extra use for our reaction if our enemies decide to just attack us instead of our allies. We gain a +2 circumstance bonus to saves against an incoming spell as a reaction before we attempt to save. Let's also get the feline puns out the way early. The Catfall feat allows us to negate an amount of distance when determining fall damage based on our acrobatics proficiency. At trained, we treat falls as 10 feet shorter, 25 feet shorter if we're an expert, 50 feet shorter if we're a master, and we negate it completely if we're legendary. Level 3 champions gain a divine ally they can infuse into their weapon, shield, or mount. We're choosing our weapon, meaning we can choose from a list of properties to give to the weapon in addition to gaining the critical specialization effects of said weapon. For the dagger, that's an extra 1d6 of persistent bleeding damage. We also get a skill increase we'll take for Expert Society. Doesn't matter if that's Wakandan Society from our own experience or intel from our worldwide intelligence network. It's still knowledge that you can recall. We'll take the Candy Acumen feat to give ourselves the reflexes fitting of a Black Panther, immediately raising our proficiency to Expert and raising it again to Master at level 17. Okay, I can't hold back the multi-classing any longer. The Acrobat dedication raises our acrobatics proficiency to Expert right away, and we raise it again at level 7 and 15. A lot of automatic skill increases to keep track of here. We also don't treat enemy spaces as difficult terrain whenever we critically succeed on a tumble through action, but we'll be jumping around outside of melee range as well. The quick jump feat allows us to perform a longer high jump in a single action instead of 2, and we no longer automatically fail for not making the initial stride action. At level 5, we use our ability boost to increase our dexterity, constitution, intelligence, and wisdom. Weapon expertise increases our proficiency in simple and martial weapons to expert. We'll take training in survival and use our skill increase for expert stealth, and we become an expert in nature thanks to our tribal bond. The natural skill ancestry feat gives us training in 2 more skills of our choice. We'll take intimidation and occultism. T'Challa is no stranger to the power of coercion or the more esoteric energies of the world. Rapid Mantle lets us pull ourselves up onto the surface and stand automatically whenever we grab an edge. Additionally, we can use our acrobatics proficiency instead of our reflex save, which will come in handy later in the build once we get a bit more vertical and our acrobatics starts to outclass our reflexes. We're grabbing another option for our reaction. I promise this is the last one for a while, but T'Challa is a nimble guy and we want to make sure we can get that use out of our reaction every turn. Dodge Away lets us gain a +1 circumstance bonus to AC against an incoming attack as long as we see it coming and we aren't flat-footed. Also, if the attack misses, we can make a step. That step increases to 10 feet instead of 5 once we become a master in athletics in like 2 seconds. Level 7 champions gain armor expertise for expert proficiency in all armor types as well as unarmored defense. We also get the armor specialization effects of medium and heavy armor we use, and boy is that awkward because with only 12 strength, we're rocking the studded leather for the foreseeable future. Our acrobatics increases to master automatically thanks to acrobat dedication, and we'll use our skill increase for master athletics to match. The feather step feat allows us to step into difficult terrain, which will be useful if you ever have to fight for the throne in knee-high water for a 3rd time. The graceful leaper feat kind of makes all that athletics proficiency a bit redundant. Now we can use our acrobatic skill to perform long and high jumps instead of our athletics modifier, which is cool because our strength score is not the mightiest. Well, we've got a goddess at our back, more agility than you can shake a stick at, and we've even got a healing factor, but we don't feel quite Panther-y enough yet. Let's fix that with the Magic Warrior dedication. Honestly, I didn't even consider this until I rewatched both the Black Panther movie and the animated series when researching this build, but masks actually play a bigger role in Wakanda society than I realized. With each of the different religious cults wearing their own mask to represent the animal that represents their beliefs best, in Pathfinder that means we get training in Arcana and Magic Warrior lore, and we get a cool mask based on an animal type, and that gives us a +1 circumstance bonus against divination effects while we're wearing it. But if anyone other than a close ally discovers our secret identity, we technically lose our Magic Warrior abilities and we have to retrain the dedication to get them back. But no worries, if your GM is strict on it, just take a week off and come back as the Sable Puma or the Stygian Jaguar. Yes, I can use a thesaurus. Level 9 champions gain lightning reflexes for expert reflex saves, Juggernaut for master fortitude saves, and critical success results on regular successes. Champion expertise for expert champion class DC, and divine spell attack rolls and spell DCs. And Divine Smite to deal persistent good damage equal to our charisma modifier to creatures we hit with our retributive strike. We use our skill increase for expert diplomacy. Wakanda is a place of tradition, and at Untested Co, we have a special tradition for level 9 humans. The multi-talented ancestry feat gives us a multi-class dedication feat of our choice. The rogue dedication gives us training we'll take in thievery and crafting. Surprise attack makes creatures who have not yet acted in combat flat-footed to us so long as we roll stealth or deception for initiative. We also get a free skill feat. Quick Climber lets us move 5 feet further on successful athletics checks to climb and 10 feet further on a crit. Once we become legendary in athletics, we get a climb speed equal to our speed instead. At level 10, we'll use our ability boost for dexterity, constitution, wisdom, and charisma. Sometimes you don't need a climb speed, sometimes you need an extra jump. The wall jump feat gives us some more mobility options, allowing us to use our momentum when we end a jump next to a wall to make another jump action. We'll grab some more heart-shaped herb stuff with the Magic Warrior Aspect Focus spell. For 5 minutes, we gain the speed and enhanced senses of a form of our choice from the Animal Form spell. That's low light vision and 30 feet of imprecise scent. We also get a 40-foot move speed if we choose the cat, but I won't tell anybody if you choose the deer instead for 50 feet of move speed, but you're the king. I trust your judgment. Level 11 Paladins gain Divine Will from Master Will saves and critical success results on regular successes. Alertness for expert perception proficiency. Exalt allows our allies within 15 feet to use their reaction to make a strike at -5 against the triggering enemy whenever we use our retributive strike. And that's why the Dora Milaje use spears, so they get extra reach on those. We'll use our skill increase for Master Stealth and grab Incredible Initiative. If there's one weakness all champions share, it's their Dismal Perception proficiency. We'll get a +2 bonus to all initiative rolls, so anytime you can roll stealth for initiative instead, take it so you actually have a chance of going first and using that surprise attack. We're about as physically ready for the mantle as we can get, so let's start adding Vibranium into the mix. Swift Sneak augments the soles of our feet, allowing us to move at full speed while sneaking. That includes burrowing, climbing, flying, and swimming too if you ever get those move types. Vibranium is woven into our armor too. Advanced Deity's Domain gives us access to the Advanced Change Domain spell, Adaptive Ablation. After we take acid, cold, electricity, fire, or sonic damage, we gain resistance 10 to the triggering damage to further damage that type for 1 minute as a reaction. We also finally increase our focus pool. We somehow managed to find all the spell options that don't add a focus point, so we still need to be a bit stingy with our magic. Level 13 champions gain Weapon Mastery for Master Proficiency in Simple and Martial Weapons, and Armor Mastery for Master Proficiency for all levels of armor and unarmored defense. We use our skill increase for Master Diplomacy and gain the Bounce Back feat, so whenever we recover from dying once per day as a free action, we don't increase our wounded condition. He survived what should have been a fatal wound and being thrown off a waterfall after the absolute stuffing got beat out of him. All without the power of the herb. Chalk that up to universal healthcare. Remember, like 10 minutes ago when I talked about royals getting strictly superior version of the connections feat? Well, that's relevant now. Normally, we would be able to arrange a meeting with a prominent figure of a settlement we spent some downtime in. But we're better than that. We already have connections with nobles and other royals in our land, and with nobles of lands abroad, no downtime required. We still gotta pass a skill check though. Divine Reflexes is something I never realized I was missing from the rogue feat list. We gain an additional reaction each turn that we can only use for our champion's reaction, which is great since now we don't have to give up on the AC and positioning bonuses from dodge away just because we got the opportunity to attack on our enemy's turn. At level 15, we'll use our ability boost to increase our dexterity, constitution, wisdom, and charisma. Level 15 champions gain greater weapon specialization, increasing our base damage of our weapon attacks to 6 since we now have master proficiency in them. We automatically get legendary proficiency in acrobatics and use our skill increase for legendary athletics so we no longer take fall damage. Move 10 feet further on a step from our dodge away, and finally get that climb speed we've been praying for. The multilingual feat gives us 2 more known languages, bringing our total up to 6, which I'm sure is way less than T'Challa really knows, but in a world where a global common language is already a thing, knowing more than a handful is really just showing off. Group impression gives us the oratory skills befitting a king. We can make a diplomacy check against the will DCs of up to 10 people to make an impression on each of them simultaneously. We've been focusing a lot on defense and mobility of this build, so it's high time that we take the fight to them instead. Tumbling Strike allows us to spend an action to attempt an acrobatics check against an adjacent enemy's reflex DC. On a crit, we move through the enemy space without triggering reactions and land in an empty square immediately on the other side of the enemy. We then make a melee strike against that enemy and they are flat-footed to our strike. Same thing happens on a regular success, except they aren't flat-footed. And even on a regular fail, we don't make the movement, but we still make that strike, so it's basically never a bad time to use this. Level 17 champions gain legendary armor for legendary proficiency in all armor types, champion mastery for mastered champion DC, and divine spell attacks. Canny acumen increases our reflex proficiency to master, and we'll use our skill increase for legendary stealth. The No One Self Ancestry feat allows us to use the failure result on an emotion effect as a reaction if we would critically fail against that emotion effect. Tumbling Opportunist gives us some sick combos. If we would perform a tumble through or tumbling strike and we successfully move through an enemy square, we can perform a trip against that enemy using our acrobatics skill instead of our athletics as a free action. Legendary Sneak brings our camouflage out of low light setting by allowing us to hide and sneak at all times without the aid of concealment or cover. Level 19 champions gain the Hero's Defiance Devotion spell, which allows us to straight up not die as a free action triggered by taking damage from any non-death effect that would reduce our HP to 0. We gain 10 D4 plus 20 hit points before the damage goes through and don't die or fall unconscious if the health gain would keep our health above 0. We use our final skill increase for legendary diplomacy. The Titan Wrestler feat allows us to perform disarm, grapple, shove, and most importantly, trip actions on creatures up to 3 sizes larger than us since we're legendary in athletics. At level 20, we'll use our final ability boost to increase our dexterity, constitution, intelligence, and wisdom. We'll take skill training in the only remaining skill we don't have yet. I'm sure T'Challa wouldn't mind busting out the flute for a quick performance check if you ask him nicely enough. The Cloud Jump feat allows us to use our long jump calculation when attempting a high jump and triples our long jump distance. Combined with the speed from Magic Warrior aspect, and we can casually jump 150 feet, no sweat. Our Vibranium Weave gets upgraded for the last time with our Capstone feat. Sacred Defender gives us resistance 10 to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage by evil and chaotic creatures, and if any creature rolls a natural 20 on an attack roll against us, they don't increase their outcome by a stage like normal, meaning our enemies can't go fishing for 20s in the hopes of getting through our ridiculous AC. But now that we're level 20, let's go over the pros and cons of the build. For starters, we've got some great action economy. Free steps, free trips, action reactions, extra reactions, not dying as a reaction. We got a trick we can use on the fly for pretty much everything that we come up against. Second, our mobility and ability to position and reposition is unparalleled. Even enemies standing in our way can't stop us from getting where we want to go, whether that's with a wall jump, a tumble through, or simply taking the long way around with a 50-foot stride. If that just sounds like pros list from a rogue, well, the comparisons don't end there. In case you've lost count, we're at least trained in every skill without missing out on legendary proficiency in 4 skills. Actually, this wouldn't be a bad character for a solo adventure since you'd never miss out on a trained action and you've still got champion level survivability. For our cons, our AC is good, but it could be better. This is the paradox of the dex-based champion. We actually have less AC wearing medium and heavy armor even when we have enough strength to use it, since the dex cap will be too restrictive. Until Guns and Gears comes out and we probably get access to unique meta materials, you're probably better off just using unarmored defense until you can get your hands on bracers of armor. Even with the studded leather, 43 AC and 45 as reaction is nothing to sneeze at, so even if you want to be aesthetically the Black Panther, you're not going to be too hampered by that. We've also got damage a bit on the low side. A D6 dagger is nice, and persistent bleeding damage will get through eventually, but a rapier will give us a bit more upfront damage without drastically changing the kit. But that's about it. This is actually a pretty solid build, all things considered. Champions are fun, and I see them getting a lot of flack online. They're probably my second favorite class. Let me know what your favorite class is and what class you think gets undervalued by players and GMs in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in to another build. Quick reminder, I'm taking February off, but if you want to help choose March's superhero build, we've got a poll up on the Patreon now between Red Hood, Green Lantern, and Cyborg. If any of that interests you, link is in the description. If it's not your cup of coffee, then look no further because I've already got the perfect video for you to watch next right here.